you at some point reconnected with an old friend, and when they saw how much you have grown, they kept bringing up your past and who you used to be to discredit where you are now. And they could barely acknowledge where you are right now because they kept focusing on your past and who you used to be. If this message is resonating with you, then this is your message. It's not going to resonate with everybody. It's not for everybody. Please don't force it to fit. But this message is for the people that you are spiritual. You have gone through your spiritual awakening. You have evolved, and you are now living through your soul. You're living your spiritual life. And before you went through your spiritual awakening, before you became awakened, you were asleep. And when you were asleep, you dealt with certain people. Like, this is probably like back when you were in college, or maybe if you were like in high school or whatever, but you had moments where, because you were asleep, you knew some other people that were already awake. They were already on their spiritual journey. They were already kind of like open into and indulging and engaging in the spiritual journey, but you hadn't entered the spiritual journey yet because it wasn't your appointed time, right? What happened is that you and this old past friend, acquaintance, whomever, you all hung out at, back then, ages ago, and you all tried having spiritual conversations, but because you were asleep, you weren't able to conversate with them. So this person, in a way, thought they were better than you because they thought, like, I know more, I'm more evolved, I'm awake, this person is asleep, boom. And they kind of like wrote you off and kicked you to the curb and thought they were better than you. And then you guys have some distance for years, and then you kind of come back together, and you have gone through a massive transformation. Like, you have gone through your spiritual journey, and you actually outgrew that person. That person who we're talking about, you actually outgrew them. You evolved past them. So yes, they started on their spiritual journey before you, but you grew way past them because your calling is higher. Your spirit is a lot stronger, right? You already, you have such an old soul that it was meant for it to be that way. You had to be asleep for a certain amount of time. It was all within divine timing. And once you all reconnected, this person basically was envious of the fact that you had outgrew them and you weren't that same person that you were before. The version that they felt that they were better than, the version of you they felt that they were better than, they knew you were no longer that version anymore. So their superiority that they felt over you, they no longer felt. So that's what they kept having to bring up who you were in the past and what you did in the past and certain incidents and everything to try to discredit you, to try to make you feel bad, to try to make you think that you are still that person when you are not. Ooh, part two. Okay, part two. So basically, because you went through your spiritual awakening and you evolved and you grew and you elevated, you awakened, you became a totally different person. And it's it's like at the core, you still are the same person. But how you express yourself, how you embrace yourself, you basically have adopted new things to your personality, new things to your identity, because you have awakened spiritually. You're now going with more what aligns more with your soul. You're living your life authentically. And, because beforehand you kind of were like, you were more so living in the flesh. You weren't awake, and you were more so like living in a way that living through like your traumas, living through your program. You had to basically reprogram yourself. You know what I'm saying? But this person here, this old friend, this old acquaintance, back when you were asleep, like not awakened, you hadn't gone through your spiritual journey yet, this old friend thought that they were better than you, and they thought that they were more evolved than you. So when you all reconnected and they saw how evolved you were, it bothered them. It really did something to their ego. It did something to their ego to a point where they were so pressed at the fact that they're like, the person that I was looking down on, I was judging, I was making fun of, I thought that I was better than, now done outshined me. And it wasn't sitting right with them. It really wasn't, because this person is the type of person where they are the type where it's like they want to see people doing good, just not better than them. They are that type of person. They can't handle people being at a higher level than them. They want people to be either at their level or at a level beneath them, because that's how they get their fuel, okay? So this person kept bringing up your past, kept bringing up old things, and you're kind of thinking like, baby, I'm over that by now. I'm not even worried about that. Like, why do you keep bringing this up? And it's because they were trying to discredit your growth of who you are now, because they couldn't handle, and they couldn't handle who you are now. They couldn't fathom that you were who you were when they remembered who you used to be. And this is the thing, we are all allowed to change. 2 to 2 on my clock. We are all allowed to go through transformations. We are all allowed to evolve. And if you evolve, there's nothing wrong with that. You want to be a different person than who you were, some years back. You don't want to be the same person that you were 5 years ago. So when this person was breaking up stuff from like 5 years ago, you're just kind of like, baby, I'm not the same person. And they knew that you were a different person, but they wanted to get inside your head and make you think that you were still the same person that you were back then and you have not evolved, because they wanted to feel better about themselves and where they were. They were too prideful to admit that you outgrew them.